The gap between the elite tight ends and elite quarterbacks this year is huge and can win you your fantasy league. Today, we're ranking the top 12 quarterbacks and tight ends in 2026. Let's get into it.
All right, so our QB1 for 2026 is Josh Allen. And since 2020, Josh Allen has not finished below QB2, and he hasn't missed a game because of injury in that span as well. And now the Bills traded for DJ Moore and gave up a decent draft capital for him, giving up a second round pick. And Allen is now in the best situation, I'd say, since 2023 when they had Stephon Diggs. And he looks to once again be the QB1 for fantasy football. And he definitely has the safest floor you can find from the quarterback position.
100% the safest floor. Like you said, hasn't finished under QB2 and hasn't missed a game because of injuries. One of the toughest players in the league. Continues to stay healthy, even plays hurt. You could always count him on being on the field all the time.
Yep, you guys said it. Quarterback 2 is his lowest. I mean, that's just amazing. And that's obviously the first guy you're taking at the quarterback position.
All right, finishing off our S tier, we have Lamar Jackson as our QB2.
Last year, from weeks 1 through 3, Lamar averaged 27.9 points per game. This offseason, Lamar told us that the hamstring injury happened in week 4 versus the Chiefs, and that affected his whole entire season, clearly. That's why we saw a downgrade in his rushing from 60.5 yards per game all the way down to 26.8 yards per game in 2026. But now Lamar coming into training camp healthy. If he can stay healthy for a full season, he easily has the highest ceiling. But he doesn't have the same floor as Allen. But last year, we even saw this. His miles per hour and speed was down around 3 to 4 miles per hour. And with Lamar, that's his whole entire game. Lamar relies on extending plays and using his legs. But now in Declan Doyle's offense, I expect a big bounce back for Lamar in 2026. The playmakers stay the same. The offensive line got a little worse, but they drafted a guard in the first round. So I expect the offense to be the same. And a healthy Lamar should have great success for this team going forward.
Yeah, so I saw something on Twitter today, actually. But even before the injury, he actually only had 5 fantasy points per game from rushing, and after the injury, it was 2. So I do think definitely the injury did have an effect on him, but I do think he might just be older and he's just losing a step in his rushing game.
He popped up on the injury report, I think, about every single week after the hamstring injury. It was a toe. It was rest. It was all the lower body injuries you could possibly think of Lamar had last season.
All right. Our QB3, we have Jaden Daniels starting off the A tier.
So Jaden Daniels had that rough year last year, all those injuries. He was injured in the beginning of the season and then wound up coming back and then had that gruesome elbow injury, which ended his season. And we know in his rookie year, he averaged over 20 points per game, was an elite fantasy quarterback. The rushing upside's always there. He's still super young. So in like comparison to Lamar, how Lamar's getting older, his rushing upside is down. Daniels is still up. It's basically the same team as 2024. We're ready for McLaurin to have a bounce back year. So Daniels is at our QB3.
Yeah, and I do think the coaching change with first-time play caller David Blau. I do think it is a downgrade to what Cliff Kingsbury was able to do with this offense back in 2024 and even last year. We just don't really know what we're going to get out of David Blau at his first time at the job. So I just think it's a bit of a question mark compared to what we had years prior.
You're just banking on health and talent.
Yeah.
We saw what he did. But new play caller, because Kingsbury had a simple offense. It was a college offense that was easy for Daniels to run. I don't know anything about David Blau. I'm not going to lie here. But I would assume it's a little bit of a downgrade. But if healthy, without a doubt, he should be a lock to finish top 5 inside the position.
Yeah, it's just the upside for him compared to the other guys, the pocket passers, like who we're going to talk about next.
Our QB4 continuing the A tier, we have Drake May. And Drake's sophomore season last year, he was able to finish as the QB2, averaging over 20 points per game. And he now gets an elite receiver 1 in A.J. Brown, compared to where his receiver 1 last year was a washed-up 32-year-old Stephon Diggs. But the schedule is much harder this year, so points might come a little bit harder than they were last year. But if they are down in games compared to where they weren't really down much last year, he will pass the ball more. And last season, he only had 5 games with less than 30 pass attempts.
Yeah, I can't wait for Drake May to pair with A.J. Brown. I think that's going to help him a lot. He'll throw for a lot. I would say not a lot, but a couple more touchdowns than he did last year. But he'll continue to use his legs and continue to get points on the ground. because Drake May's as we saw, was a big time dual threat last year, and I can't wait for him to. Like I said, I can't wait for him to pair up with AJ Brown, and I think top five is a lock for him.
Yeah, I mean, quarterback 2 last year. We know what he can do, and we're just ready. Quarterback 4.
At our QB5, we got Joe Burrow.
Burrow, man, health. In Burrow's last healthy season in 2024, we saw him finish with 22 points per game. We know Burrow, unhealthy, he's one of the top quarterbacks in this league. His health is the biggest question mark, as he's on average missed 4 games per season since 2022. He is lower than these guys, as he doesn't give you any rushing upside at all. The 4 guys ahead of him give rushing upside with only 5, but Burrow is a guy who only averaged 5 rushing yards per game last season. But Burrow, what he can do with his arm, he's probably one of the most talented quarterbacks throwing the ball in this league. With the receivers he has and the offense that they run, if he stays healthy, man, he'll get you 40 touchdowns and over 4,000 yards. But top 5, top 3 is possibly a lock if healthy with Burrow.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This offense is literally the exact same as it was back in that 2024 season, even last year, where he played pretty solid to end the year. It just really hasn't changed much. And if I think this team really is due for a fully healthy season, maybe not out of T. Higgins, because he always up on the
No way.
injury report. But if they can stay fully healthy, this team should be back in the playoffs for the first time since 2022. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just think it has to happen, and it's really been too long without them being one of the top teams. And I do think Burrow will stay healthy this year and get you a top 5 finish.
Because you
Yeah.
even saw last year when Burrow played, they were 5-3. And I thought the Bengals were horrible. But when Burrow came back, they started playing better. And he didn't even look the same when he was on the field. He threw for 17 touchdowns in 8 games and 5 picks. It's not even bad at all.
And he definitely wasn't 100% healthy, because I'm pretty sure that injury was supposed to keep him out for the whole season when it
He
happened
was
originally.
wearing like a metal plate in his shoe when he was playing. Because I remember I had him on my team and I was waiting for him to come back. I made a trade for him in like week 9-ish. And I was like, yeah, this guy could possibly come back. And he wanted coming back for me week 13. And he played all right. Sold me in my fantasy playoff game, but it's all right.
Yeah, it's just, it's self-explanatory. Health, he'll be ready. We know what he's got. Same exact team, same situation. So just quick.
All right, our last player in the A tier, we have Jalen Hurts.
So hurts, losing AJ Brown definitely hurts him. In past probably last 4 seasons, he's in that top 3 category every single time. So now without Brown, it's going to be a worse offense as we expect. But that means less tush pushes, and his rushing in general has been down. Last year he averaged around I think it was like 26 rushing yards per game, which is not Jalen Hurts. You know what I mean? And so he's down here, quarterback 6. I would definitely not use up a high draft pick on Jalen Hurts in 2026.
Yeah, I just think his floor and his ceiling really did drop with the AJ Brown
Yeah.
trade. I know that they did draft Eli Stowers in the second round and Mekhi Lemon in the first round, but they're rookies, and I just don't think obviously they're not going to be the same players that
No.
or the same impact that AJ Brown had for that offense. So I think with these guys ahead of him, they all 3 of them have higher ceilings, and I would also say higher floors than him.
Yep.
And like you said about Hurts, he had all-time lows in every single rushing category: attempts, yards, and touchdowns, with only 421 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns, and 105 attempts. That is nothing from what we saw when we got the starting job in 2021. Completely all down significantly.
Especially the touchdowns, only 8 touchdowns. In other years, he's had like 12 plus. So
Yeah.
even last year, his touch pushes were down. So now without a better offensive piece, I feel like they're going to stay at that same level, or maybe even get worse. So
And they lost arguably their second best offensive player.
All right, starting off our B tier with Justin Herbert, and Herbert has an average over 20 points per game since 2021. With that being said, with the addition of the new OC Mike McDaniel, which we saw him propel Tua to a QB9 finish and 4,600 passing yards back in 2023, and with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt back and healthy, I do think there is a chance that we can see Herbert go back to what he was doing on earlier in his career and get back to that 20 points per game range. And he is now a pretty decent runner where he averaged over 31 rushing yards per game. And that was really something new with his game, which we haven't really seen in seasons prior. So I do think his floor is higher than it's ever been, but I don't know if his ceiling is as high as it was back in 2022 and 2021, or just because the weapons are worse, I'd say, receiving wise. It doesn't have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams anymore. He's at Lad McConkey and QJ, who Lad McConkey had a down year in his sophomore season last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely super duper high on Herbert. This is my guy. Last year I took him. I loved him. I loved watching him play football. Just hurt with that offensive line. So now with everyone healthy, new coaches, better coaches, and yeah, we're in. We are ready for Herbert to have a huge year.
Continuing our B tier, we got Trevor Lawrence as our QB8.
We finally saw Trevor Lawrence break out again last season, and from weeks 12 through 18, he averaged 25.7 points per game. With now ETN gone and another year under Liam Cohen, I expect this offense to be way more pass heavy with all the receiving options this team has. And last season, we saw Trevor Lawrence run the ball more. He averaged, he ran 21.1 rushing yards per game and had 9 touchdowns on the ground. He overall put in a fantastic season, but the play towards the end of the season makes us even higher on him as we hope he can continue this for next season. Like Trevor Lawrence, we finally saw this from 2022 when people drafted him as early in the 4th round last year, and he put in a horrible season. But it's about time he started playing great football again and came back. And another year under Liam Cohen. Like I said, I expect this offense to be pass heavy and really good for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, in the full season, without even just using weeks 12 to 18, he averaged almost 20 points per game in the full season. So I really do think it is a good spot, and he has pretty good value. We're getting him pretty late in drafts compared to where the A and S tier we're going. So I do think
Yep.
it's a good value on him, and I wouldn't mind waiting for a quarterback and drafting him in like around the 10th round, I'd say.
Yeah, all these guys coming up now, and even from like Herbert on, are very value great picks, which you can get like in that six plus round. You know what I mean? So
Next up, we got Jackson Dart as our ninth quarterback.
Jackson Dart last year he averaged 18 points per game as a rookie in his minimum weeks he played. But you know what we see from him. He's a great running quarterback. That's definitely his uh, bread and butter in fantasy, I would say. So with Neighbors on the pup list, it does hurt him a little bit, obviously. But when he's in the field, he's gonna be that dog. We saw him play without Neighbors, and he still was. He played great on that field. Had a lot of fantasy points for us. So we're ready for Dart to have a bounce back, comeback player of the year type season.
Yeah, and Dart has practically never played with Neighbors yet. He played about a first half with Neighbors, so I'm excited to see what they look like together on the field, and hopefully, Neighbors will get back week 1, and that'll definitely help Dart's fantasy stock going forward with a true number 1 receiver.
Yep.
I do think the receiving core, though, even I know he didn't play with Neighbors, I do think it was still better than it is this year with Wandale there. He had over a
Yeah,
thousand receiving yards, which is definitely better than Darnell Mooney and a 33-year-old Odell Beckham Jr. right now. But also, I mean, you just got to be worried about the injuries. I mean, he missed a good amount of games. He basically went to the blue tent almost in every game, which is obviously a concern. You want your quarterback to be on the field, but other than that, sophomore season, he can be like the Drake May of last year, I'd say.
I
Yeah,
just
it's a good
wonder
pick.
how much they can limit him to running with the concern of concussions. That's the only reason why I'm a little lower on him, just because I don't know how much he can really run the ball with
As
Oh,
you
all.
said, John, you don't draft scared, right? Come on.
But it's a different way. The offense can change around him.
And also, I do think it would be more run heavy now compared to what it was last year with John Harbaugh coming in.
Yeah,
And yeah, and he also didn't even have Skadaboo, so the odds were up against him last season, and he put in great numbers for us. So it was one of the best waiver wire pickups of the season.
Next up, as our QB10, we got Caleb Williams. And we saw Caleb kind of break out in 2026 in his first season under Ben Johnson. He did finish as the QB7, but I think he only averaged around 18 points per game, which really isn't anything special, I'd say. I think in another year under Ben Johnson, though, and going into his third season in the NFL, I do expect him to take another jump. And I think he will become a more consistent passer in 2026 and not just relying on those big, crazy plays. I think he's going to be able to hit more of the normal, easier plays compared to where he was missing a bunch of those in games last year. And there is rushing upside as he does average around 25 rushing yards per game in his first 2 seasons. So I do think you can bank on another year three breakout from him. And I do think he's a good pick here at QB9.
He's got to have a higher completion percentage. You see him make the big play, but he doesn't make the layups. If Caleb Williams can make those layup passes, he would throw for way more yards per game and have a lot more touchdowns. We need the consistency out of Caleb Williams because we know he can make the big play. He can make that throw 40 yards downfield, rolling out to the other side. But can he get that easy pass over the middle that isn't thrown to center field? You know,
Yeah,
need to get the
exactly.
easy passes. His completion percentage was very low last year. It wasn't good at all. He needs that to be way higher, and we need to see a consistency out of Caleb Williams.
But that is a good problem because that's definitely something he can fix. Like it's really not, it shouldn't be an issue because they're wide open receivers and he has good pockets sometimes. He literally just misses the throw. So I do think that's something that having another year under his belt, working on footwork, whatever he needs to do, will help that out and he will become a more consistent quarterback this year.
And I think Ben Johnson's goal is going to be getting his 58.1 completion percentage way higher.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw Goff back in 2024 with Ben Johnson. He had multiple, I think he had at least one game where he didn't throw an incompletion. He went 18 for
Yeah,
18, I remember
he
on
threw a perfect
Monday Night
game.
Football. Yeah, it's just
Mhm.
That was insane. That
yeah.
was a crazy game.
Continuing our B tier, we got Brock Purdy as our QB 11.
When Brock Purdy was healthy last year, he averaged 20 points per game last season in the games he was healthy. But now, going on from Mike Evans, going from Juwan Jennings to Mike Evans now in the Shanahan offense, Purdy is one of the safest options at QB with the upside of being a 20 points per game player. Now, with if all players are healthy, if Evans, Kittle, and CMC are all healthy all season long, I think Purdy has the ability to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. And I don't think that's a hot take at all. If these weapons are healthy, and probably I would say one of the best play callers in the league right now, there's no reason why Brock Purdy cannot finish inside the top 5. We saw it last year in 9 games. He threw for 20. He threw for 2,100 yards and 20 touchdowns. And the Niners went 7-2. There's no reason why he can't be, like I said, the top 5.
Yeah, we saw back in 2023, he finished as a QB6. I mean, and I do think the offense you can say is better now. I know they had Ayuk and Debo back then, but that was really towards Debo's end of being like a consistent, really good player.
Yeah.
And then Ayuk, obviously, Ayuk was great that year, but Evans, I would say, is definitely the best receiver of his career. And I do think if Kittle does come back and he is the same player as he has been, and CMC can stay healthy and still be a good receiving option for Purdy, I do think he definitely has the upside to finish at the top 5. I don't think he can be like the QB1 just because I don't think he really has a rushing upside for that, but he can definitely be a consistent top 5 guy for you.
It's just a very old offense, and health is just going to be the biggest concern for everybody in that offense, not just Brock Purdy.
Very similar to Burrow, but obviously we have more trust in Joe Burrow.
And our last quarterback here to finish it off, we got Dak Prescott.
So we see all these 6 guys in this tier. I feel like even Herbert and Dak right now they're similar players, you know. So Dak, I mean, Dak was great last year. I think he was drafted in like the double digits of quarterbacks. He finished at quarterback 9, had a little over like 18 points per game. So with the return of CD and Dak, I mean CD and Pickens, with Pickens on the tag, he definitely should be playing this year. I saw him. I think I saw on Twitter he just
He came
returned.
back today.
Yeah, he came
Yeah,
back today for minicamp.
which
Mhm.
is great for him. So I mean, I'm huge on Dak. He's going to be another underrated guy this year. So yeah, when you can get him in like the 8th plus round, it's a steal.
Starting off our top 12 tight end rankings, our number one tight end for this year is Brock Bowers. And we've now seen Brock Bowers in his rookie and his sophomore season finish as a tight end 3 and tight end 2. And he now has a monster coaching upgrade going with from Pete Carroll to now new head coach Clint Kubiak, who we just saw help propel JSN to over 1,700 receiving yards on a 35.9% target share. And Kubiak has already expressed how good he thinks Bowers is, calling him a football robot from heaven. And with an upgrade at QB with either Kirk Cousins or Mendoza, it doesn't really matter who it is. Both are an upgrade compared to how Geno played last year for the Raiders. Bowers in the second round is a steal, and I think he's definitely going to be a positional advantage for your team this year.
For sure, man. I mean, Bowers, Kubiak, man. I mean, that guy, 1,700 yards with JSN. The sky is literally the limit for Brock Bowers. I mean, I think this guy's gonna have about this is a really hot take, but this is like one of the predictions I have 1,500 plus yards for sure from Brock Bowers. So he's the number one option in this offense by far. So we're gonna see how his season pans out, and I am excited.
Yeah, and their receiving weapons. They literally added a fifth round rookie, maybe. I think I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
it's
that's all they added. It's Jalen
Trey
Naylor, Trey
Tucker,
Tucker. It's
Jack
there's
Beck.
literally no one. Yes, there's
Yeah,
literally no one. There's no target competition compared to where our next player, our number two tight end, is Trey McBride.
Trey McBride had one of the best tight end seasons of all time last year, averaging 18 points per game, and he broke the tight end record with 126 receptions. This offense is a question mark. I get it. If Jacoby Brissett starts this season, McBride should do great. But we don't know about what Carson Beck. They took him in the second round. Brissett also took time off trying to look for a higher salary, which I thought was extremely dumb. They're underdogs in all 17 games. And it's not a definite that Brissett's going to play all the games. He can definitely get benched at any time this season, especially with the new coaching staff. And if this happens, it can definitely ruin McBride's fantasy stock because last year when he moved on from Kyler Murray to Jacoby Brissett, he had 11 touchdowns. His career high in touchdowns before that season was three touchdowns. So we saw him break the record with receptions and score 11 touchdowns. So without a doubt, if Brissett can play the majority of the games, in my opinion, I think there's no way that Trey McBride doesn't finish as the tight end 1 or 2. No way. That's why we have him so high, obviously.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
what I was kind of leading up to with Bowers is that I mean the Cardinals they do have a really decent amount of weapons like Marv, Michael Wilson. I know Jeremiah Love was a really good receiving back in college. So just compared to where Bowers is, where he's really the only receiving option. I know Jency had over 50 receptions, but there really is no one in that receiving room that worries me compared to where the Cardinals do.
yeah,
Yep.
and Brissett, man, he's definitely not a winner. That's for sure. He only tallied one win last year with Arizona, so the odds of him getting benched are surprisingly pretty high, I would assume. So that could definitely hurt every single weapon in the Arizona Cardinals offense. So we'll definitely be ready for that and inevitably when it happens.
So starting our tier A, we got our tight end three, Colston Loveland.
Colson Loveland went off in the late ends of the season. We from weeks 9 through 18 averaged 14.3 points per game, which for a tight end is elite. And we also saw in week 17, 18, the wild card round and the divisional rounds, he averaged 12 targets per game. That is absurd. No DJ Moore. That's the target share is going to be higher. More targets are opening up. He's only getting better in his second season now. First round tight ends. You know what he's got. You know what he's going to do, and I am super excited.
Yeah, he looked like a stud at the end of last season. I mean, he was by far Caleb's number one target. I mean,
Yeah.
he really like locked onto him late in games as we saw last year. When it got to clutch time, he really did look for Loveland, and he really was the number one option for this team receiving wise last year.
Yep.
And this was Ben Johnson's first draft pick. They're definitely going to use him. In the beginning of the season, people were like, oh, why aren't they using this guy? Why aren't they using Colson Loveland? Towards the end of the season, he was one of their best offensive players, if not their best offensive player. There's a reason why Ben Johnson took him so high at 10, and there's not a doubt in my mind that he won't finish top 5 at tight end. He will definitely be a top 5 tight end this season in fantasy football.
Our second player in our A tier, we got Tyler Warren. And in weeks 1 to 13, we saw Warren average 13.1 points per game, which for a tight end is pretty good. But from weeks 14 to 18, he only averaged 6.3 points per game. And the difference was Daniel Jones tore his Achilles. And he should be back for week 1. Obviously, we don't know if he's going to be the exact same player, but him just being on the field is definitely going to help compared to even last year at the end before he tore his Achilles. He was dealing with the fibula injury and he was still playing pretty solid. So. And then the Colts also, they did trade Michael Pittman to the Steelers in the offseason, which we've talked about. So it's definitely going to open up a lot more targets for for Warren in this offense. And I do think Warren is definitely the number one option for this offense now. And I think his target share is definitely going to be even bigger than his rookie year. And he's going to have a great sophomore season, I think.
Yeah, you nailed it right there. As soon as I got rid of Pittman, the number one option, I think immediately Tyler Warren becomes the go-to guy for Daniel Jones in this offense. And that's where I expect him to be all year, a top 5 tight end going forward.
Yeah, I feel like this is the undisputed top four. In my opinion, I feel like it's these 1, 2, 3, 4 in this exact order in everyone's rankings as it should be. So I mean, these four guys are definitely going to be that those four guys that are going to be way better than the rest, especially those top two, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree there. And starting off our B tier, like you said, we got Kyle Pitts starting off the new reign.
After the last 3 years, Kyle Pitts played horrible. There's no way to say it. From 2022, 2023, and 2024, Kyle Pitts did not get it done. He just simply didn't get it done. He averaged 12 points per game this season and finishes the tight end 5. He now has a huge coaching upgrade in Kevin Stefanski, who helped David Njoku from 2022 to 2024 average just over 12 points per game and was a tight end 7 in that span. I don't think it matters who the quarterback is, as we saw Tua help Jonnu Smith be a top 5 tight end in 2024. We saw Kyle Pitts almost get to 1,000 yards in 2025, put up 5 touchdowns. Who knows? Maybe he goes through that same trajectory of scoring 1 extra touchdown every year. You get the 6 touchdowns. But back to what I was saying, he's playing for a contract now. He's playing on the franchise tag now. Maybe they extend him long term, but we're hoping that Kyle Pitts can finally show up to what the guy he was. And I think he's one of the safer tight ends in fantasy this year, just because the lack of receivers on the Falcons. It's Drake London and nobody else except for Kyle Pitts now. It's Kyle Pitts' time to shine, and he's playing for a contract, like I said. Hopefully he gets the ball and can really thrive in this Kevin Stefanski offense.
Yeah, he really looked great at the end of last year. He really looked like the tight end we thought the Falcons were getting outside or after the draft back in 2021. He did look good his rookie year, I know, but really those 2023 to 2024 seasons, he did not look like a good player. I know there was a knee injury back then that was, I think, keeping him back, and he played, I think, every game this year, or at least close to it, and he really did look healthy, and he looked back to the player that everyone thought they were getting.
He played and started all 17 games, and just that round 1 of the fantasy playoffs was a leap for him. I mean, 11 receptions, 166 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He won people weeks on that Thursday night game. That was insane.
I actually had him in another league. It was just the greatest thing I've ever seen. He's the GOAT.
Continuing our B tier, we got Tucker Kraft as our tight end 6.
I do love Tucker Kraft this year. Last year in weeks 1 through 9, he averaged 14.3 points per game, which is very good. That would have finished tight end 4 last year, and I mean his injury just hurt those managers, man. If I had Tucker Kraft, bro, I would be livid if that happened to me. But yeah, with Romeo Doubs gone in New England, that's more targets opening up. The injury, it's ACL injury. Obviously, it's a little tough to come back from, but he definitely should be ready for week 1 as he got hurt not too late in the season. So I feel like these 6 guys I would be confident as my tight end 1. The rest I'm a little iffy on.
At the moment, he is on track to play week 1, but like we said, it's still early. The hope is coming back week 1, and I would not be hesitant to draft Tucker Kraft as one of the better tight ends in all of fantasy this year.
One thing to note is that in the start of the season, Christian Watson wasn't playing because he was also recovering from a big injury. So I don't know who's really going to be the number one option for this team because they did just pay Christian Watson a lot of money. So, I mean, but we probably can bake in that Christian Watson will miss time next year. So Tucker Kraft will
Yeah,
definitely be the number one option for the team during those games. But I would think that Christian Watson will be the number one option when they're both healthy, just because of the contract they gave him.
I'll
And
quickly
they
talk
also
about that. I'm not a fan of that contract for sure. He hasn't even broke 700 yards in all his years in the NFL, and he's making that much money. Are we serious? I don't know. It's my little short 2 cents on it. but that's
But they also got rid of Romeo Dobbs, who didn't sign back, and he was one of the key offensive players who played over 78% of snaps for them throughout all of last year. So definitely a lot more competition for targets in this offense now with Dobbs gone.
Yeah, and they did also trade Dontavian Wicks to the Eagles.
I forgot about that too. So this team is definitely banking on Matt Golden to step up, and I think we'll talk about him soon on the channel because he's a guy who I'm starting to believe in for next season already. And
he's the only first round freaking receiver with the Packers.
Yeah, from what I saw from in the playoff game, I think he took a great step forward to the end of his 2025 season.
All right, enough of the receiver talk. Going to our C tier, we got Harold Fannin as our tight end 7, and we saw Fenn in his rookie season average almost 12 points per game, and he finished as a tight end 8, and that was with Shedeur Sanders as a starting quarterback in his rookie year, and Dylan Gabriel, and Joe Flacco. I know Joe Flacco was pretty good. But now with the departure of David Njoku, who had almost 50 targets in 14 games, he left, and he's with the Chargers now. He left to go there in free agency, which should open up more targets for Fannin in 2026. And the only question mark, like I said, is really the quarterback position. Is it going to be Deshaun? Is it going to be Shedeur? If I had to take a guess today, I would think it would be Deshaun just because they have all
Yep,
that money.
I agree.
And I don't think
It's gonna be
Shedeur isn't he's not the guy. And also I think if I had Fan on my team, if I had a preferred pick, I would also say Deshaun Watson over Shedeur.
I don't really think it matters who the quarterback is. I'm not going to lie, especially with the Njoku out the door, because I don't think that Harold Fannin had any good quarterback play throughout the entire season. So quarterback play isn't going to hurt a Fannin at all. The only thing that I think could hurt Fannin is the two young receivers coming in. With the two young receivers coming in, that's definitely going to hurt a lot of targets because Judy towards the end of the season was a non-factor. And he's not going to be a factor again this season at all. It's just what Concepcion and Boston can do in the offense. It's just a matter of how much playing time and targets they both get that take away from Harold Fannin because Harold Fannin was the go-to guy. He was the safety blanket for all three quarterbacks that played. Probably two. He was more likely Gabriel and Shadeur's go-to guy. But it's something to see. But he's definitely going to return as a top 10 tight end, when healthy. And I hope he could take another step forward in year 2.
I do think that the coaching change also worsens his situation because I mean he was really used everywhere last year. He was used as a fullback, he was as a scat back.
Yeah, fullback too.
He was using a bunch of different positions last year, which really is nice. He had a lot of easy targets, and you just don't really know if you're getting the same thing with Todd Monken this year. I would hope that they still use him because he was great last year, but you just don't know. It's really just that's a bit of a question mark.
It's a mystery.
Yeah. Okay, we're continuing our seats here with our tight end 8, George Kittle.
In 2025, Kittle finishes the tight end 3, averaging 14.7 points per game. And he only played in 11 games. But in the playoffs versus the Eagles, we saw him tear his Achilles. But Kittle has talked himself, suggesting that he should be back on the field for week 1, and he's on track. But we haven't heard anything from the team yet. But this is just taking the word from Kittle. But I would still hold back on him because the Achilles are major injuries, especially for a 32-year-old guy who will turn 33 in the middle of next season. And the signing of Mike Evans, I feel like can definitely bring down his ceiling because the touchdown upside. Kittle is known for scoring a bunch of touchdowns in the red zone, being Purdy's go-to guy. I think Evans becomes that guy right away. But we saw Juwan Jennings put up a double-digit touchdown season, and Kittle was still able to be a monster on the field. I don't think it affects him as much as people think. It's just the Achilles, in my opinion. I mean, I think he'll be back on the field week 1, but it's just how good can he be at the age that he is right now.
Yeah, you're getting him at a great value now because of the Achilles injuries, obviously. But because if he didn't get hurt, you'd be a top 3. You'd be the number 3 tight end, I'd say, in most of people's rankings. So you're getting him at a good value, and if he can return and be the same player that he was the last couple of years, you're getting a top 3 tight end in around 8 to 9, which is obviously going to be awesome for your team. So it's definitely it's not really. I mean, I wouldn't say it's risky pick just because of how late he's going. If he was going around like where Warren and Lovin are going, it would be definitely a bad pick. But you're getting him around where these guys are going, and it's definitely a good spot for him if he can return and be the same player he was.
I feel like George Kittle is not a risk at all because of where you're getting him.
No, I completely agree with that. Completely.
this is a guy that's usually taken in the fifth round in fantasy leagues. You can get him all the way in the seventh round now. For a guy like that, who I think is going to be on the field week one, this is one of the safest picks in the draft. If Kittle's not the like Kittle, he's like your average seventh round tight end.
Hmm. Yeah,
This is
that's literally the worst possible outcome. Just a normal literally
Yeah.
any other tight end you're drafting, which is
the normal
really
tight ends you take are going in and out of the waiver wire bench.
exactly. Yeah.
I don't think Kittle will ever be like that, even at 33. So
Hmm.
this is the safest pick.
Yeah, it's a good pick this year. Good value. Continuing our C tier, we got Sam Laporta as our tight end 9.
So Sam Laporta last year, weeks 1 through 10, averaged 11.9 points per game. That would have been good for the tight end 7 on the year. We know Laporta, he had an insane rookie season. Last season was a little rough, but we're Laporta, like, he's a guy that's like he's in the same tier where it's like I don't really trust him, but he's a late round pick where he can finish as a top 5 guy, So he's at our tight end at 9.
Yeah, and they had Drew Petzing, or now their new OC is Drew Petzing, who we know schemed up over
Yeah.
170 targets for McBride last year. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen because they have so many amounts to feed with Amon-Ra, Gibbs, and JMO. As I would say, JMO is now another option ahead of him after his last 2 seasons.
Mhm.
And he's kind of dealt with injuries reported these last 2 years, which obviously sucks. And I know that back injury is a really big injury. I think he might have been limited in OTAs, so he should be back for training camp hopefully. But it was a major injury, and we've seen Rob Gronkowski. He had a bunch of back injuries early on in his career, which it didn't really affect him early on, but obviously that's more of a thing for Dynasty that he's really affected for. So I don't think it's something to really worry about right
It's
now.
kind of it's
But
kind of the
he played
inconsistency I get from Laporta, and that's why I'm really not that high on him, and we aren't that high on him. With all those guys in the offense, he'll have those games where he has a touchdown. He'll have like 5 for 55 and a touchdown, which is a great game. But then he'll have those games where he has 2 catches, 15 yards. Like you really can't afford that in your tight end slot. But
he's playing for a contract now. He's a free agent at the end of this season. So I think you're going to see him on the field a lot, no matter what, because he's got to. I mean, it's a business. He's got to get the most money for him. That's why I like drafting guys on contract years. They got something to play for. This could be a big year for him, and he could turn it into a lot of money. He's still 25. He's still young. I know you talk about the back injury, but this is a guy who's got a whole career ahead of him and can make a lot of money in this league. So he'll have a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, and on that point, I don't think the Lions are going to extend him this offseason. So yeah, that's a good point bringing up that he's playing for a contract this year. All right, our last player in Tier C, our tight end 10, we got Travis Kelce. Kelce is now at 36, and this possibly could be his last season, but that's not really a bad thing. Maybe he lets it all out. Mahomes targets him. They throw it all out on the field for if it's his last year. And he hasn't been outside the top 5 tight ends since 2015, so it's been over 10 years. And we know Mahomes and Kelce have great chemistry, so I do think Mahomes is always going to look for him. I mean, people thought, I mean, he was a value last year in draft scales. He went around the 7th round, so to where he was going in 2024 around the 3-4 turn. So I do think it's still a great value. He's even lower than he was last year. And I do expect him to put up similar numbers to his last couple of seasons where he's averaged 11.8 points per game over these last few years.
I mean, in a way, I mean, has Kelsey slowed down? Sure. But where you're going to get him now, he had 108 targets last year with 76 receptions. And I wouldn't say that he was ultimately that bad. But especially like Kittle, the same thing with Kittle, I would say. He's one of the safer tight ends you can take this year because he's going to play all the time. He's consistently going to play. He's going to be the starting tight end no matter what. He's going to get targeted. Like it's not going to be like the Kelsey you saw 3 years ago, but he's going to be a good tight end, someone that you could start week in and week out, not be the tight end you drop and continue to stream for on the waiver wire.
Yeah, and the Mahomes Kelce chemistry really reminds me of Brady and Gronk when they're at the end of their career at the Buccaneers. Because I just think people thought, I mean, Gronk was always a value in the drafts back in 2020 and 2021. He was going around the 9th round. He's just performed. It was literally that he just performed, even with being age 36 and 37. do think it's still a great spot for Kelsey. I just think he's going so late. It's a great value. And that chemistry really just, he's going to throw Kelsey the ball. You don't have to worry about him not getting receptions.
Especially with the tight ends. When you're in the league and you don't have the positional advantage, you're consistently trying to stream and look for tight ends. I don't think you see that in there with Kelsey ever, even though how old he is. He's not a guy you're going to drop and add on the waiver wire. He's just too talented for that, and he's still going to put up a solid amount of numbers to start on your fantasy team.
I said it before about the top 4 guys with Bowers to Warren. I think from Bowers to Kelsey, however you want to rank those last few guys, that is the clear top 10 for sure. And the guys underneath, I feel like, are complete dart throws.
Yeah, with that being said, going to our D tier, we have Kenyon Sadiq as our tight end 11.
I mean, he was picked 16th by the Jets in the NFL draft this year. And over the last 2 years, we've seen all 3 tight ends that were selected in the first round finish as top 10 fantasy tight ends. If Sadiq can be an every down player for the Jets, he can definitely continue this trend to finish as a top 10 tight end. Looking at his stats from Oregon, he played in all 14 games for 3 seasons straight, so he was always healthy. And he wound up putting in 51 receptions for 560 yards in his junior season with 8 touchdowns. But the reason why he got taken so high is because of the combine he had. He ran a 4.39 in the 40-yard dash, which set him as one of the fastest tight ends ever the NFL has seen. This guy is a complete beast on the field. He's got one of the how can I say this in a way? He's got one of the best physiques for a tight end in the league. He can run, he can catch, and he's big. He's a guy that I expect the Jets to use a lot, and he's a guy that the Jets can use to make, because the future looks bright for the Jets. I see him as one of the key pieces for this team and this offense. As I think the Jets rebuild, it's just getting started, and they're ready to go.
Yeah, a quarterback away, literally. That offense just needs that quarterback, and the Jets are going to be in business. I'm telling you. I'm a Jets believer. I really am. Not this year, but in a couple of years, I'm a Jets believer.
All right, and finishing off our top 12 tight ends. Coming in at number 12, we got Dallas Goedert.
So Goddard last year had a pretty underrated season. He was a touchdown machine last year, had 11 touchdowns in 2025. And now with A.J. Brown gone, that's a ton of targets vacated for him. And we're going to see how he does next year. He's never passed over 60 receptions in his career. So we'll see maybe if he can hit that threshold. So, yeah, I mean, he is a dart throw. He can be really mid, like super duper mid. But as a low end tight end one drafted that late, it's really not. It's a pretty solid guy I would have on my fantasy team.
One thing about the touchdowns is that he doubled more than doubled his career high last year. So I just think maybe that this 2025 season could have been an outlier year compared to where I think his career high before the season was only 4. And we know that he's really had an injury problem in every season, basically, of his career.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's another thing. The injuries definitely hurts him. I said dart throw. These guys 11 through on. We're talking about next with like Likely, Andrews, Ferguson. They're all just they're guesses basically.
Mhm.
Goddard has never played a full season since his rookie season, which was 2018, where he played 16 games. But my thing with Goddard is Kevin Patullo benefited him a lot. Kevin Patullo got a lot of hate, but he had some of the best red zone play calls, and it's a proven stat. The Eagles were one of the most efficient teams inside the 20-yard line in the league. Yes, Kevin Patullo was horrible, but that was the only thing he was genuinely good at. He schemed Goddard open a lot in the end zone with 11 touchdowns, which was huge for Goddard. But now with him gone, and they took a tight end in the second round, I don't think Goddard is going to be anywhere close to what he was in 2025. But like Rob said, it's a complete dart throw on the tight ends in the late rounds. So
Yep.
if you're picking there, if you're the 12th team in your league, Goddard's the last tight end there, I would be fine taking him.
I'll add one more thing. I've said it before in videos. Greg Dulcich, baby. That's a throw I'm gonna take.
All right, thank you guys for watching. We hope these top 12 quarterback and tight end rankings help you guys win your league. Still early on, so a bunch will change by the next time we do this. And
For
yeah,
sure.
thank you guys for watching.
It's early, but keep tuned, stay tuned.
Yes, sir.
Like and
100%.
subscribe.